evening. I'm Catherine Buckingham, and I'm the chair of the Be the Change 406 Coalition. This series of slides has been kind of drifting through while you were coming in, and we'll run it during the breaks as well. What it does is just give you an overview of some of the things that the different community groups in Dillon have been doing over the last year. So it talks about who's working with it. I will tell you right up front, if we could, this would be a recruiting meeting. We have a new program that is called Communities That Care, and it actually is a framework that we're bringing in to kind of lay over Be the Change 406 Coalition. Because what it does is it brings in every single sector that is represented throughout the county. And it also makes, he stopped it. One of the times you will see there, and there will be a picture of kids jumping in the air. Look at the statistics. It's pretty amazing. In Communities That Care, which is an evidence-based program, if you are able to incorporate it into your community, there are phenomenal benefits for our kids. So, we are going to be starting some community-based training within the next month or so, and if you're interested, we would be delighted to have you join us. Tonight is part of the presentation. It is the final in our three-part series that was on family mental health. Am I? Okay. I'm used to being loud. I'm just not used to being loud with the microphone. The last of the three, or so, number 3. We have talked with a therapist, many of you were here, who talked about what it was like raising children and being a teenager during the pandemic, and the type of stress and mental anguish that a lot of them went through. We also discovered this remarkable new resource, parentguidance.org, that has this great website. It's free of charge. It allows people to get on and ask questions, and it has an entire series of different vignettes that, if it's in the middle of the night, you're trying to find out information on something you learned from your child today, it has a lot of information that would at least get you through until the morning. Tonight's presentation is sponsored by Be the Change 406. It is also sponsored by Project Aware in the Dillon Elementary School. It is also sponsored by the Yellowstone Girls, I always want to do girls first, Yellowstone Boys and Girls Ranch. You work on switching the different sides, the Yellowstone Girls and Boys Ranch. Project Aware, Be the Change, and the ACEs, the Beaverhead Task Force on Adverse Childhood Experiences. There is available this evening a series of books on digital minimalism. Some of you who attended on Zoom didn't get an opportunity to get a book, so please pick one up while you have the chance. We have munchies, and we'd be delighted for you to make it easier so we don't have to take a long home tonight. On your table, I would ask that you take this sheet out and you complete the pre-survey now. We'll ask you to do the post-survey at the end of the evening, but if you would complete this now before we get started, and I'll give you a few minutes. I will tell you that my trusty cohorts this evening is Sharice Lemlin from Yellowstone Boys and Girls Ranch, as well as Andrea Scher, who is the new Project Aware Director at Dillon Elementary District. Welcome, welcome, sign in, and there's seats up here. Okay, about a month ago, there was a series of presentations on drug and alcohol use among teens, and it was actually a 5 or 6 piece series. And one part of it brought Deputy Gomez and was presenting. Now, I was watching it on Zoom. Andrea was watching it on Zoom, and so was Charisse. It is powerful. It is remarkable, and it will absolutely make your toes curl if you are a parent or a grandparent. He brings really good information. He gives you really good tools in which you can really make a difference about what happens with our kids when they do go online. And he does it in a very engaging and proactive manner. We have seats up here. All right, so I am delighted to introduce Deputy Dave Gomez from the Boise Sheriff's Department.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. I am Deputy Gomez. As she mentioned, I work for the Boise County Sheriff's Office. I also work for the Idaho City Police Department. So I kind of two roles. I started my life off as an engineer. So I have a bachelor's degree in electronics engineering technology. I worked in the Silicon Valley for a couple of years, and I transferred to Micron in Boise and worked on semiconductors there. I got to travel the world. I spent some time in Italy. I spent some time in Singapore. I spent some time in other places. At 36, I decided to become a police officer. Just one day I saw the ad in the paper, honey, we're changing lives. I joined the Meridian Police Department in Boise, Idaho. The Meridian Police Department, about 130 sworn officers, over 100,000 people. My first 3 years as patrol, I was on night shift, which is where they stick all the new guys. And on night shift, you're working late at nights, and that's where you run into fun people, right? You got all the DUIs, the burglars, the fights, right? Soccer moms in the morning are not that fun. They are grouchy. After doing 3 years of patrol, I was asked to be the school resource officer of a middle school. So I went to be the resource officer of the middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, 1,200 students. Right, so that's a good-sized school. When I got there, I had a week-long training course over the summer. Hey, this is how you become an SRO. Have fun. I had no idea what I was going to get myself into. When I started getting to know the students and I started seeing the problems, and this was 2012, I started seeing that almost all the problems at the middle school revolved around social media, whether it was bullying, fighting, drugs, suicidal thoughts, all kinds of things. Everything had to do with social media. And I would have kids that I would talk to, and they would talk in this language that I didn't understand, and they would show me things that I didn't know. So I started trying to educate myself to the level of the 6th graders in social media. As an engineer, I was actually very good on computers. I could rebuild a computer from scratch. I could change things out. I could clip wires and put new wires in. My social media skills were not so much. I had an outdated MySpace page was all I had, which I never used anyway, so I didn't really know MySpace either. Well, in my efforts to try and become social media educated, I found there's nothing I can do to keep up with the 6th graders. Anything I learn is 6 months old or a year old or 5 years old, because they are updating themselves every single day. So I came up with a genius idea. I made a fake Facebook page of a student at the school. So I picked a girl's picture from East Coast on a motorcycle that you couldn't identify, and it took me about 15, 20 minutes to make a Facebook page. Once I put a few items on there, I friended 20 of the most popular kids at the middle school, and they all accepted me. Within hours, the 20 kids had accepted me. Once I had the 20 popular kids, from there on out, I didn't have to send any more invites out. People started friending me. And all I ever did was reshare what the kids were already putting on there. Every once in a while, it's spelled cool with a K, K-E-W-L. That was enough for the kids to just add me as a friend. Not one person asked me, not one person said, hey, I haven't seen you at my school, nothing. Within about 3 or 4 months of doing that, I had over 400 kids at my school that were friends on my fake account. Right, so I could scroll through it at any given day. I could see the language they were using. I could see who was bullying. I could see who was probably going to be using. I could see who had suicidal thoughts. I could see all kinds of information. But the best information was I learned the language. I learned what they were doing. As that account grew and I started paying more attention, I started seeing we had sexual predators in the neighborhoods where my school was. When we would have a sexual predator arrested, I would run their name through my friends list, my fake friends list. And what started happening is I started seeing that a lot of the kids had mutual friends with the sex offenders, right? Which meant that the sex offenders had my kids and the middle school kids as friends on their social media. It's like, oh, this is crazy. It can't happen like this. So I started giving internet classes to my kids at the middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Here's your internet safety classes. I downloaded some canned classes. I started giving it to them, and they were having nothing to do with it, right? Because they were outdated. They didn't mean much to them. So I needed to come up with a better way to educate the kids. My social media account was pretty sacred in that I got lots of information from it, so I didn't want to give it out to the kids. I didn't want them to know I had a fake account. But at some point, I decided, you know what? I'm going to tell them I have a fake account. So I started going into classrooms. And as I teach in my class, I'd say, hey, who has social media? And as they raise their hands, I said, you know what? Put your hands down. I already know who has social media because I'm your friend with my fake account. Ha ha. Their jaws would drop. Oh, Officer Gomez, I feel like you're creeping on me. Right? Makes me feel all dirty inside. And then they'd say, I'm going to delete you. To which I say, please delete me. I dare, I double delete me. Get out your phones, delete me now. So they'd get out their phones, and the same thing happened every time. They'd get out their phones, they'd log in, they'd go into their Facebook page, they'd look at me, and they'd look at their phones, and which one of my 800 friends are you? And I'm not saying delete everybody you don't know, and you'll have deleted me. Easy enough. Right? Some of the kids had more than 5,000 Facebook friends. Facebook caps you at 5,000. You can't add more than 5,000. So they had what they called mirror accounts. Because they wanted more than 5,000 friends, they had 2 accounts and they put everything. Just double it up. I would say on average, the kids at the middle school had between 400 and 4,000 friends. That was typical. So now the kids were in their effort to delete me. Well, I'm deleting you. And someone would go home and delete. And they'd check with me the next day and I'd show them, no, I'm still your friend. Some of the kids, it was too much work to delete all their friends, so they just delete their account altogether and start over. Some of the kids didn't care. They just, well, no, if I worked on that Facebook page too much, I'm not getting rid of it. I don't care what you see. And so we went on like that. What started happening is I started educating parents as well. When the parents would call, I would tell them, hey, do you know how many Facebook friends your kid has? They have 3,000 Facebook friends. And the parents were like, well, I don't see why that's a problem. It's like, well, let me explain the ways. You know, there's a lot of reasons that's a problem. So I came up with one of my first rules of social media for kids. And it was my 200 rule. Have less than 200 friends on any given platform and have touched them on their shoulder. Right? That way, if a parent called and said, hey, my kid is being bullied, I look, hey, they have 3,000 friends. Why don't you get rid of some friends? Let's start there. And they'd all say, oh, well, you're asking me to punish my kids by making them get rid of friends? No, I'm asking you to protect them. Same thing as locking your car doors. Right? And so that became a big promotional campaign around Boise area. 200 friends, shoulder touch policy. Even my fellow police officers, hey, Gomez, my daughter wanted, to add 2 friends and have 202 friends. I just told her, pick 2 other friends you're going to drop off the list. And there's a lot of reasons why that helps. If somebody's getting bullied or somebody has some kind of problem, I can find them if they have less than 200 friends. If they have 4,000 friends, it's going to be in Australia, it's going to be in, Pennsylvania. Who knows where those friends are going to be? And the other thing is that once somebody has so many friends, people become anonymous. Once you become anonymous, you start saying things that you wouldn't say in real life or you wouldn't say in person. So I like to keep them under 200. That keeps it nice and friendly with people you know and a lot safer than anything else. So that's about me. Let's go on and we'll start talking about some things that we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to run this class pretty quick. Next, so on the agenda, positives of social media. I always have to put some positives in there because there are some positives. Devices at school, I know a lot of you are educators and parents, and that's a big thing. Theft of devices, security on devices, threats, bullying, drugs, nude photos is going to be a huge one, and that one's the one that's going to get most people. Sextortion, some of the legalities, and after I scare you with all of that, we'll give you some of the best practices how to protect yourself and your kids from some of these things. Next. So this slide and the next slide, basically the positives of social media and the internet allows people in rural areas and other areas to be educated without leaving their house, without leaving some place that they call home, right? We have some very rural countries even that can now get educated because they can do it from a laptop right in their own location. Having Wi-Fi, having social media, having those things also allows for collaboration like never before. We have doctors that can do doctor's visits just over a computer screen. We can print out prosthetic limbs and ship them all over the world based on 3D printing, some good photos, and a lot of technology that's available that keeps on increasing every day. So there are a lot of positives. The information basically available is more information than we've ever had at any time, and by leaps and bounds. Now, unfortunately, many people use all that information to put their cat pictures up. Right? It's like, hey, I'm giving you the most powerful computer and most information you ever had. Let me put cat pictures up. Kind of a joke. Next. We already talked about collaboration. Let's go on to the next one. So let's start with some devices. And we're going to start with watches. So go one more. So we have several different flavors of watches. The first one I want to talk about is the Gizmo watch. Verizon offers a Gizmo watch for kids. It's probably good from 6-year-olds to about 11 or 12-year-olds. A Gizmo watch allows 10 phone numbers. It allows a parent to GPS track their kids, send them messages, and receive messages. Plus, however many other phone numbers you want to allow them to have. It's very secure. They can't take pictures on it. They can't contact anybody a parent doesn't allow them to contact. And you can keep track of them. And that is the reason why lots of parents tell me they give their kids smartphones. Well, they're going to be alone after school, so I want them to be connected. Smartphone is a very dangerous thing. Highly recommend you wait till after 13, 15, 16 before you give kids a smartphone. So the smartwatch, the Gizmo, T-Mobile has a different version of it. It works just as well. Those are great things to have for connection until they reach the age where you think they need a smartphone. Now we have the iWatch and the Android version of the watch, the Gear. Those are basically mini phones. And in fact, the latest iWatch can operate without a phone. You don't even need a phone anymore. Super smart. You can take pictures, you can send pictures, you can have cloud connection, you can store things. All kinds of problems arise there. So basically they have some of these smartphones are smart, just like having a computer as well. Now at our big schools, I'm going to talk a lot about Mountain View High School. So when I got done at Lewis and Clark, I did 2 years at Lewis and Clark. Then I moved on to Mountain View High School there in Meridian. Has 2,300 students in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. That's a lot of kids, right? My own little city of 2,300 kids. So I learned a lot there. At Mountain View High School, on test days, we found that kids were taking in these smartwatches and they were cheating. Because teachers weren't up to date, they can take a picture of a math problem and it'll solve it for them. They can take a picture of a question and they can send it to their friend and get the answer back. Right, so these start to become problems. And it's awesome that your watch can solve complex equations just written. It takes a picture, it solves it, shows you the work and everything. But kids were using it to their advantage to cheat on tests. So then what started happening is on test days, roll up sleeves, no watches. Right? No phones. A lot of kids use their phone. I need to use my phone for the calculator. And a lot of teachers think, oh, good, I don't have to buy calculators. But when they use their phone, they can take pictures of anything and get the answers just like that. They can share answers. They can do all kinds of stuff. Just to kind of be aware of what's going on there. All right, next. Next we go to cell phones. Start with flip phones. A lot of parents go, I don't want my kid to have a smartphone, I'm going to get him a flip phone. And that's fine and dandy if you can find a flip phone. They're very hard to find. However, flip phones have some issues. The number one issue that we have with flip phones is they can be enabled for hotspots, which means during class, at home, once you shut the Wi-Fi down, Mom's flip phone that she has beside her bed can be enabled to hotspot so kids can get to the internet through mom's phone or their own flip phone. And that bypasses all the securities that anything has there. And I've run into that so many times where the flip phone in the house gets used to connect to the internet. Then we get to smartphones, which are computers, right? You guys know they're computers. They can do most anything. Now, I know that teachers and parents always try and keep up with kids on their little computers. I'm going to tell you, you're going to lose that battle every time because kids are professionals at it. They're little professionals. They spend 10, 12, 15, 20 hours a day on their phone. How good are they going to be? Very good. Plus, they have a team. They have coaches. They have 24-hour support and all their friends on how to learn how to get around parental controls, how to get around the school logs, all those things. They are actual professionals. But as a parent, I'm going to tell you, don't give up the fight. You've got to show them what is important to you. Do your best, and I'll give you some tips on how to keep up with them. Next, school supply devices. After I went to Mountain View High School where we had 2,300 students, I am now currently at a school that has 300 students from K through 12. I'm in Idaho City, Idaho, population 500. So I went from big middle school to giant high school to little teeny school. What I noticed is across the board we have the same problems. So at the small school, we give everybody a Chromebook. Those Chromebooks have security on them. Teachers can see what kids are looking at. Unfortunately, they can see what kids are looking at. The kids can get around all the locks. They look at things they shouldn't do. Parents will borrow a kid's laptop and look at things they shouldn't look at. And as much as the school puts on safety devices for them not to browse things they shouldn't be browsing, like pornography, chatting with people at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, the kids find a way around them. Especially at the school, they use VPNs, they use hotspots to hack through the system and do whatever they like. Next, device theft. So these phones are between $100 and $1,500 or $1,600 now, these new devices. Parents are sending 6th graders to school with this amount of device money. Now when the phone gets stolen, the parents always want the school to find it. Hey, I sent them to school with a phone, they should return it with a phone. Right? That's a huge problem. How many times do kids lose things? They'd lose their head if it wasn't screwed on. They lose it, it gets stolen, it gets lost, and now parents calling the school, how come they didn't return with my $1,500 phone when they left with one? And that's a burden that the school kind of has to deal with. And it's best to deal with it in the policy at the beginning. Hey, look, we advise you don't even bring phones to school. If you do, keep them in your locker. If they get lost, stolen, not our issue. Call somebody else. All right, here's court. Next. We're kind of going quick because I have some much scarier slides to get to. Online threats. This is something we deal at the big schools, but every school is going to deal with online threats sooner or later. Somebody's going to send something on social media, usually it's Snapchat. Hey, don't come to school tomorrow, here's a picture of some guns. And a lot of times they'll put the initials of the school, MHS, or VHS, or VMS for middle school. The kids are going to share that like wildfire, especially if they have that school with those initials. How many schools in the country have MHS initials? Thousands. So now every school with an MHS has this screenshot going around of a gun threat tomorrow. The kids all know it's not their school, but they show it to their parents. Mom, I know I want to go to school tomorrow. I'm scared for my life. So now it's 6, 7 o'clock at night. I start getting screenshots from superintendents, from the news, from my superiors. Hey, we've got a threat at the school. What are you going to do? We need you to come in. Because that's a big deal. And the latest one we had was at a middle school, a 1,200 student middle school. It came in. This one, they actually had the picture of the school, so we knew it was our school. And some guns. But if you don't know, you have to start doing elimination. I always put the image on Google image search to see if somebody else has dealt with that image already. And we can usually deal with it pretty quick. Okay, that's in another state. It's already been taken care of. Somebody went to jail. Kids are just recirculating because they don't want to go to school. But what happens when it's a real threat? So we got a threat. Here's Heritage Middle School. Here's a gun picture. Don't go to school tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'm coming in and I'm getting even with everybody. Stay home. So of course the parents start freaking out, start sending it to the news, start sending it to the police, start sending it to the school. The school gets on and they have to send out an email to every parent. Hey, we received a threat. We are working with police to try and fix it. I get on and I do search warrants. I call Instagram, I call Snapchat, I call whoever. Hey, I need some information. I need it quickly because we have to figure this out before school in the morning. So I get the information back and I get an address. Now, I've got an address of somebody who has made a threat to the school. They're showing pictures of guns, so we have to assume they have guns. We as a police department now have to decide, are we going to send SWAT to the house? Are we going to evacuate the neighborhood? Are we going to bring in helicopters? How are we going to assault this house to take care of this threat? Luckily, I had some reconnaissance and I had some information, and we didn't send SWAT, but we did send a team of about 6 officers to the door. The couple that we knew was going to be there, they were probably in their late 40s, 50s. They answered the door, sweet as could be. Hey, how can we help you? And this is a lot of going on here for our little house. It's like, hey, do you have a child in your house, a student of any kind? Well, yes, our daughter Samantha, or whatever her name was. She's a 6th grader. Come on down. Little gray-faced little blondie girl comes to the door. Hey, did you make a threat on a fake Instagram account today? Yeah, I did. So she caused about 6 hours of work for I don't know how many police officers, how many superintendents, how many school officials, and it took her 5 minutes to do that. Changed her life forever. Right? The school basically banned her from coming back to school. So you're going to be online school or you're going to be alternative school for the rest of your life after that. But it is so easy for kids to make threats. If they're not feeling like coming to school, they just make a threat and they know that school's going to be canceled. It's such an easy thing, but that is a life-changing 5 minutes of your life. And especially after they see it come in a couple times, happen in another state, they don't see the consequences, so it's easy for them to make an online threat. That's a huge thing, and it's going to happen in almost every school. Sometime is going to have that happen to them. Next. Devices during class time. This is probably something you guys deal with. And I know we deal with it at my small schools, we deal with it at the big schools. Most schools have some kind of a policy on phones. Hey, when they come to school, they got to stay in your lockers, they got to stay in your backpacks, they got to stay in your cars. All of that happens. When kids get to class, in a 90-minute period, they have to use the bathroom 3 times. Do they really have to use the bathroom 3 times? No, they're going to use their devices in the bathroom. If a teacher tells a kid, you've already used the bathroom twice, you can't use it a 3rd time, the kid tells their mom, Mama Bear calls in, why aren't you letting my kid go to the bathroom? They're going to get a UTI, they're going to get a disease. You have to let them go to the bathroom that many times. Right? And we all know that they're going to use the social media. What's worse that's happening nowadays in the high school levels, when you have a no cell phone policy and a teacher sees a kid with a cell phone, they say, hey, give me your cell phone, and the policy is we give it back after class or after school. Give me your cell phone, you're not supposed to be on it. Kids nowadays are just saying, no, my mom said I didn't have to give you my cell phone. When that happens, your classroom is lost. Right? Everybody's going to be snickering, everybody's going to be teasing, everybody's going to be getting their cell phones out, because that person has now challenged the teacher's powerless at that point. There's no respect. And so the teacher can say, hey, go to the office. And the kids say, no, I don't feel like going to the office. I'm going to stay here and be a disruption, basically. Call the office there. Maybe that'll help. They call the school resource officer. Unfortunately, some school resource officers will drag a kid out for that. I tell them highly advise them not to do that. But you've basically lost the class. And it's happening so much that in some of the bigger schools now, teachers are giving up the fight on cell phones. You want to use your cell phone? Keep it in silent mode. I don't want to see it. So they're back there texting. The teachers know they're texting. But that's the way it goes. Is we have parents who are enabling this behavior. We have parents that call the school and say, hey, I need a welfare check done on my kid. Like, okay, what's wrong? Well, I texted them 15 minutes ago and they haven't answered. Well, yeah, it's the middle of math class. Well, you guys can't keep my kid from answering my text. I really need to talk to him. Like, yeah, we can. Well, no, you can't, because what if there's a fire? That's what they always say. What if there's a fire? I'm like, what phone do they have? Well, they have a Galaxy. Yeah, that does not put out fires. I checked. Right, but that is what's happening more and more. And we've had schools that have tried to ban cell phones altogether, and the parents won't have it. We've had some people put jammers in classrooms. The parents won't have it. They feel like they have to be connected to their kid all the time, even during school. Right? This is a huge thing. And a lot of times when we take the phones and keep it till after school, they're like, you have no right to take my kid's phone. And so then they tell the kid, don't ever give up your phone again to a teacher. And that is a horrible thing, but that is the world we live in, and that's what we have to deal with. Cell phone devices at school, we have like after 3, you get suspended, right? So now we're missing school. We have nude photos being shared. We have bullying happening. We have drugs being delivered to the school. All this is happening on smart devices that are at the schools. And parents want connection just in case there's a school shooting or a fire. So just to save a minor possibility, they're willing to risk all these other bad things that can happen with cell phones at school. Next. Bullying. This is one of my pet peeve issues. Bullying is probably one of the most often misused terminologies at the school. We always get parents who call the school, hey, I'm coming down to the school, my kid is being bullied, and you're going to do this, this, and this. You're going to arrest every person that is hanging out with that other kid and their parents and anybody that looks like them. So to try and solve a bullying issue, they come into our office and try and bully us into doing something because they think once they throw that bully word around it, they're beyond reproach. Right? My taser says otherwise. Over time, though, what I needed to do is come up with an educational way for the teacher, for the parents to understand that not everything is bullying. So what I did is I changed the definition from what was at the school to one that I kind of came up with. So what was at the school was a perceived imbalance of power constituted bullying. Well, perceived imbalance of power, any parent can say that. Hey, well, my kid felt an imbalance of power, this is bullying. Right? You can say that in any situation in a kid. So I changed the definition. I changed it to one-way repeated harassment of any kind, with a big giant underline on one way and a big giant underline on repeated. So then a parent will call in and say, hey, my kid got bullied at school today. Okay, what happened? Well, when they were walking in for lunch, somebody called them a name. I'm like, okay, that's rude, but it's not bullying. Bullying has to be repeated. Right? Not that we won't do anything about that, but that is not bullying. So then the other thing we get, Twitter fight. You get kids that are back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The first parent to call the school thinks they are the victim of bullying. Right? One way repeated. When you have back and forth, it's no longer one way, that is 2 ways. We call that social conflict. Right? And social conflict, as a parent, when I get a parent that calls me, hey, look, my kid's being bullied. All right, first of all, it's not bullying, it's social conflict. Second of all, it's awesome that you get an opportunity as a parent to teach your kid how to resolve social conflict. And parents are not teaching their kids enough how to resolve social conflict because when they turn into adults, I have to deal with them because somebody cut them off, they're shooting bullets at people, they're running them off the road. They don't know how to resolve social conflict, right? They go straight into victim mentality instead of, hey, I'm a grown person, I can start handling my own problems. And it all starts with, let's resolve social conflict. Once I came out with this definition, I probably had thousands of reports of bullying. We have a citation, actually, a $72 citation I can write for somebody who's bullying. I've written like 5 or 6 tickets ever for bullying. And usually it's because the parent is enabling the bullying, right? Not because the kid is. So, awesome definition to have. You ever have parents, kids, same thing, let's teach you. One way, repeated harassment. Oh, let's talk about the 3-step plan to stop social media bullying. Okay, super simple. Number 1, you stop talking to the person you're having a problem with. Right? Stop talking to them, stop communicating with them. Number 2, block and delete. Whatever they have, block and delete. Every device has a block and delete. Right? The ultimate block and delete, you turn off the phone and throw it in the drawer. Number 3, and this is the most important step, the step that gets missed. Tell all your friends not to send you screenshots of whatever the other person is saying. And I get this phone call over and over from parents. Officer Gomez, I know you talked to my son, daughter about bullying yesterday. You told them to block and delete, to ignore the person. But that person's still bullying my son or daughter. And I always ask, well, how do you know? Well, all the friends are sending them screenshots. I'm like, well, tell the friends to stop sending screenshots. And you know what they say? Well, how will we know if we're getting bullied? You won't. That's the magic of it. Right? But they want to be so hurt that they're willing to reach out to be bullied. That is a horrible thing. But these 3 steps, man, they will solve bullying almost every time. Works in real life too, and it works with adults. Oh, I can't tell you the adults that don't just move on with their life when they disagree with somebody. They have to go full on war. This is Facebook, people. If you're going to be that sensitive, you need to do something else. Next. One more. Social media and drugs. So now we're going to start thickening the talk a little bit, getting a little more serious. Kids these days, since they use social media for everything, of course they're going to use it to talk about drugs, to share drugs, to sell drugs, to buy drugs, to get education on drugs. This screenshot you see up here is actually a picture of close-up of marijuana. And I can go on Snapchat. On my Snapchat, I have a lot of fake people on my Snapchat. I can go on there and I can see probably 20 different people selling marijuana, cocaine, meth, LSD, prescription pills, and I can have it delivered to pretty much any place, including the school. And with my fake account, we did have some drugs delivered to the parks nearby. We didn't want to bring the deliveries right onto the school grounds for obvious reasons. But we can do this anytime, any day, from complete strangers, from friends, from everything. Now, they give you the price. That price is $100 for half a zip, $180 for a zip. Now, a lot of people don't know what a zip of marijuana is. A zip of marijuana is a gallon Ziploc bag packed very tightly with marijuana. That is a zip. These guys are selling it for $180. You usually get it about $120. Right? You can negotiate, you can get it delivered. There's a couple things that go on with this. Number one is, when you start getting into drugs on social media, there's 2 addictions. Number one is the chemical addiction. Number 2 is the social addiction. Kids actually get addicted to posting pictures of them doing drugs. That's their circle of friends. Hey, look, we went out Friday night and we got lit. This is what we did, and this is how awesome it was. Right? So then everybody else says, oh, that's awesome. Now they start posting their pictures. They do the same thing with vapes. Hey, look, we're going vaping. We got this super funny juice. We're going to the skate park. Here's all our pictures so they can remember. Because with drugs, almost every drug, unless you take pictures and put it online, there's nothing to remember it by. When we ask marijuana users, hey, when's the last time you got high on drugs and you were proud of yourself for it? When's the last time you thought it was the most awesome thing ever? They don't know. They just remember what it's going to be like the next time. So by taking pictures, putting it on social media, it helps them remember, but it becomes a social addiction just as much as it is a chemical addiction. In fact, even more so. So when parents want to stop the chemical addiction of either vapes or marijuana, they think, well, hey, I'm just going to take my kid out of it. We'll give them something else to do. They can chew on the gum. They can do this other stuff. But what they don't understand is that kid has a social life based around marijuana, based around vaping. So now you're asking them not only to quit whatever chemical thing, which kids can do that, but now you're asking them to change all their friends that they have, all their social media circles. And that oftentimes is much harder than the chemical part. And parents, I get parents, hey, we caught your kid vaping. Oh, well, they stopped right now. They'll never do that again. I'm like, no, that's not the way this works. Right? That's almost like the Facebook wall. No, that's not how any of this works. If your kid is on marijuana, if they are on vape and they're addicted, it's going to be rehab, it's going to be weeks, it's going to be months of working to get them off of that. It's super easy to start. It's hard to stop. The other thing that happens is kids get educated on how to make better drugs. So marijuana in the 60s was THC level of 3 to 6% THC. That's what people would get high from. Woodstock, all those things, that's 3 to 6% THC. Nowadays, with all the farming techniques and all the different things they can do, farmers have THC contact with marijuana up to 20%, 20, 25%. So the marijuana of today is not the same thing that grandma and grandpa were smoking. What's even worse is that kids through social media have learned how to make concentrated marijuana. They call them dabs, they call them shatter, they call them all kinds of things. These concentrated marijuanas they make by cooking things down and filtering it, those are 70, 80, and 90% marijuana. Those things can be smoked through vape pens. They are often brought to school. Kids will smoke them in school, but they're learning all of this on social media. They're learning how to make pills. At the school, huge into pills right now. Every school is huge into pills. Norcos, Adderalls, Xanax, those are all pills that kids are buying. $10 a pill. Almost no matter what the pill is, $10 a pill. It was a couple months back, I caught 9 kids who had taken penicillin pills that they bought for $10 a pill. As I called each one of them in, did you get high? Yeah. No, you didn't. Today you might not have got mono, but right, but they were learning things. So I have kids now who buy a pill press from Amazon. You can go on Amazon, pill press, $500. And it's a nice pill press. Then they order from China a bunch of the chemicals that make up a pill. They lace it with a little fentanyl so that their Norco pills are better than any Norco pills you get from the pharmacy. And now they're handing them out. Well, now I'm ending up with kids in the ER, unconscious, changed for the rest of their lives because you got these garage scientists putting out drugs that can kill an elephant. Right? That's what the fentanyl does. Patches, fentanyl patches now, kids are smoking the ones that have been thrown away in the garbage. Right? Because those are extremely potent. So there's starting to be procedures that have to be done with fentanyl patches. Just so it's not just kids, adults do the same thing. Right? When you start as a kid for marijuana, you don't stop. Guess what? You turn into an adult who's smoking marijuana, who's doing pills, who's doing alcohol. Right? Alcohol is another one. Not much changes in the consumption of alcohol. I mean, when we were all in high school, there was always the kids that did alcohol. What has changed is the availability. Right? You can go on to Snapchat anytime, any place, and you can get alcohol. And we're going to talk about some of the currency, but now kids, especially girls, don't even need money. They can trade pictures for alcohol. They can trade pictures for drugs. They can trade pictures for money. And that is happening more and more. And as the mainstream media, as celebrities start putting their OnlyFans accounts out, they are basically showing kids how to sell their bodies for money. And some kids are making lots of money. Most kids are just making a little bit of money, but some are making lots through some of these accounts. Next. The life of a marijuana user. So I always tell this to the middle school kids and the high school kids. I say, look, because I was at a middle school and went to a high school, I followed a bunch of the kids up from 6th grade. So I had 6th, 7th grade, 8th grade. Then I went to the high school, so I had them 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So I had some of those kids 5, 6 years. So I got to see them from 6th graders all the way through 12th graders and beyond. So the 6th graders, when we teach them about drugs, they get a DARE class, or they get a life science class, or a health class, where they get the marijuana talk. They promise, I'm never going to smoke marijuana, because if I do, I will spontaneously combust, I'll end up overdosing in the hospital, and just crazy things happen. So they sign their life away, I'm never going to do marijuana. When they reach 7th, 8th, 9th grade, they're going to end up in some social situations where marijuana might be available. Now, as parents, we've taught our kids, don't take marijuana from anybody, especially strangers. What that means to them is, don't take it from the ice cream guy who comes out with shorts and flip-flops and offers you marijuana. Don't take it from creepers. And kids are generally not going to take marijuana from creepers. That's an easy one. Who they will take marijuana with, picture a 15-year-old boy at a bonfire party and a girl in a bikini top offers them a joint of marijuana. Hey, take a hit on this. Then it becomes much, much harder for the kids to say no. Picture a brother, a sister, a track star, a football star. Hey, smoke this marijuana. And what happens is, the first time they take a hit on that joint, nothing happens. Right? They don't spontaneously combust. They don't overdose. They don't end up in the hospital. The police haven't kicked in the door. Pretty much nothing happened. It's not that big a deal. So then a couple weeks later, when they take another hit off of marijuana, it's still not that big a deal. Right? I smoked marijuana twice now. It's not that big a deal. People have been lying to me. I don't know why the adults in my life don't want me to smoke marijuana. Fast forward a little bit, when that kid starts going to more marijuana parties, those things go till 6 in the morning. But when that happens, when you party till 6 in the morning, it's hard to get up and go to school. It's hard to get up and go to work. It's hard to get up and do chores. You just want to sleep all day. When you just want to sleep all day and not do anything and party all night, Your motivated friends who you used to have, who play sports, who have jobs, who want to do their schoolwork, they're going to start leaving the party at 9 and 10 o'clock. So guess who you're going to be left with? You're going to be left with all the other potheads who don't have jobs and live in mom's basement. You start changing your friends, which starts that second addiction of your whole lifestyle changes. Well, here's the next thing that happens with these young people who start getting addicted to marijuana. They don't have jobs because they can't wake up in time. They don't go to school, they're not doing anything, so parents are cutting them off from their allowances. How do you buy your marijuana? And I tell kids, no matter how pretty you are, sooner or later your friends are going to want you to pitch in for marijuana. $5, $10, $20, $30. It's usually not terribly expensive, but it is an expense. How are you going to get that money? Almost every young kid that I know starts stealing. And the person they steal from first is their parents. Right? So when a parent calls me, hey, how do I know if my kid's on marijuana? Go check your jewelry drawers, go check your old power tools, check all your change drawers. If you have no change in the house, some of your rings are missing and some of the power tools are gone, your kid's doing marijuana. And they're pawning that stuff, they're selling it to get marijuana money. Once they run out of house money, they go into neighborhoods, they jockey boxing. They start opening car doors, stealing phones, stealing change, stealing whatever they can from the car. And they'll hit 30, 40 cars in a night just to get enough to get a night's worth of marijuana use. Now we bust them, they're easy to bust. We just go park in the neighborhood dark. They're going to come by almost every night, check all the car doors. Now I've talked to 100 kids who have been caught jockey boxing, which is a felony, by the way. As soon as you break into a car, you even steal a quarter, it's a felony crime. It's burglary. But I always ask them, why are you doing this? And the answer is always, I'm doing it for marijuana. Not once have they said I'm doing it for alcohol. Not once have they said I'm doing it for meth. Usually the meth heads and the coke addicts don't have enough together to even go do that. It's almost always for marijuana. Now, I'm hopeful someday I'm going to bust somebody doing that, and they're going to say, hey, I'm going to college, my books went up by double, and I'm just saving, trying to make ends meet. That's never happened because those kids are motivated enough to get a job, to save money, and to control their life. Right? So the marijuana problem, one of the big things is not what it does to your body. I mean, it does all kinds of health things. Whenever you replace oxygen with anything else, it's not going to be good. Right? But kids don't care about that. They can't see the faraway consequences. Marijuana users, adults and kids, think that because it's illegal, that's their problem. And I tell the kids, even if they make it legal, they're still not going to make it free. And the real problem with marijuana is that it costs money. Almost every person that we catch shoplifting is a marijuana user. Right? Which one comes first? I don't know, but that is the numbers. Every kid that we catch jockey boxing, every adult that we catch jockey boxing, marijuana user. If you make it legal, they're not going to make it free still. Right? And a lot of people in their mind, they think, well, if we just get it legal, it's going to be, everything's going to be happy. No, because it's still going to cost money. You're still going to have to go out and buy it. Makes sense? And that is a big problem. And I talk to people, hey, look, when they make it legal, it's probably going to cost them more than the illegal versions. Next. Okay, now we get to the real serious conversation. Nude photos at the school especially. So as a police officer, I have to take reports of kids who have been scammed into sending nude photos, who have sent nude photos willingly, who have been in sextortion for nude photos, and it's becoming more and more of a big deal all the time. So here's some numbers for you. By 8th grade, most middle schools, about 50% of the girls have sent out nude photos of themselves. By 8th grade. By 11th grade, we're up in the 90% range as far as kids that have sent out nude photos of themselves. Right? Boys and girls send out nude photos. This is a huge problem, right? It's a currency for kids at the school, it's a currency for predators, it's a currency for the kids themselves. They send out nude photos of themselves because they've been on social media for 5-6 years and they've been groomed by the general public, by TV, by everything that, hey, you are worth your body parts and that's about it. And I get people that parents especially, there's no way my kid's ever going to send out nudes. As a parent, you're biased to your kids. Just like I have an 11-year-old granddaughter, cute with ribbons in her hair and a tutu on her dance team. She's not going to think about sex till she's at least 25. Right? But that is not the reality of it. The reality of it is that 7th graders are already having sex. Right? Not the experimental, they are having sex. If you're not talking to 4th, 5th, 6th graders about it, the 7th graders are showing them. The minute you give your kid a smartphone, and who do we give smartphones to? 3rd graders already. Welcome to pornography. Parents always ask me, hey, what age do you think is a good age for my kid to get a smartphone? Hey, when you're comfortable with them looking at pornography, give them a smartphone. Right? And I always give this analogy. If you went to a yard sale and somebody was selling a box of Playboy magazines, would you buy a box of Playboy magazines and leave them in your 14-year-old son's bedroom all night? Oh no, that's crazy talk, right? A 14-year-old wouldn't get any sleep. Now let's change that. You give them a smart device that has access to 1,000,000 times more than that box of pornography magazines, and you're going to let a 14-year-old have it in their bedroom all night long. All day long, all night long, all the time. What do you think they're going to do? And I can't tell you how many parents have called me, Pastor Gomez, after your class, we looked at my son's history and he was looking at pornography all night last night. Really? Right? Of course they were. Biologically, they are going to look at that stuff. Girls do it just as much. When a girl sees something on TikTok, on Snapchat, that has some kind of a sexual reference, they're going to look it up. They're going to watch videos on it. They're going to know what's going on so that they can talk the language the next day at school. Right? Not going to give your kid a phone? Doesn't matter. They're going to get on the bus with lots of people with phones. They're going to be at the playground with lots of people with phones. So even if your kid doesn't have a phone, as soon as kids in their class have a phone, guess what? Welcome to porn. And that is the next biggest addiction that everybody is going to have, is the pornography addiction. We deal with it all the time in the schools. We deal with it all the time in adults. But back to new photos. 90% by the end of 11th grade, 80% by 8th grade. This causes some huge issues. I've taken reports from 7, 8, 9-year-olds who have sent naked pictures of themselves already. Right? Which is ridiculous. I want to throw the parents in jail almost for giving their kids smartphones and then allowing kids to talk to strangers. And then parents, well, I had no idea. What? How can you not have an idea? This is crazy talk. But let's talk about some predators. We have kids at the school who are predators, and we have adult, random people who are predators. So the kids at the school, here's what my boys do at the high school. They get a fake Snapchat account that nobody knows the account. They start friending all the girls on Snapchat, which they accept all kinds of people they don't know. And then after they have them on the account for a month or two, they send them a message, hey, I have a naked photo of you, what's it worth to you if I don't share this with everybody? And basically they tell them, send me a new naked photo of yourself to me personally, or else I'm going to share this one with all your Instagram friends. And they usually send them a video of all their Instagram friends that they just scroll through. So now, 90% of girls have sent out their naked photo by then. This boy has a pretty good chance that girl sent out a naked photo. Now she's got to decide, does this person really have my naked photo? And any girl that has sent that out or been at the high school knows that boys trade those around like playing cards. They sell them, they trade them, they send them, they share them. Right? So now you have somebody with nothing. They don't have a naked picture of this person, but now they do. They just sent them a threat. Okay, now they get a picture. Now they get a video, which is awful. Now you have adults who will trade drugs to some of the high school boys in exchange for pictures of naked girls. And then what they do with those pictures is they sextort the girls. Hey, I have your naked picture. What's it worth to you if I don't send it to your family, to your friends? Right? And with boys, they're preyed upon almost just as much. So with my 6th grade boys, I teach them internet safety. I teach them stranger danger. And I said, look, online it should be 100 times stranger danger because you don't know who you're talking about to. So now picture this. A 15-year-old hottie girl sends a message to a 13, 14-year-old boy. He doesn't know her. How many of them are going to say stranger danger and not talk to her? 0. They all are going to talk to the hottie girl. They start a relationship after they've known each other forever, at least 15 minutes. Hottie girl starts laying it on thick to this 13, 14, 15-year-old boy. Hey boy, you're super special, you make me feel nice, I can't believe I met you, I've met so many people and they're all garbage, but you're the special one. I'm going to send you a special picture and I want you to send me one back. And then this girl sends a topless picture of herself to this boy and says, hey, send me one back. How many boys do you think are going to send their picture back? All of them. Then she sends a full nude photo. How many are going to send a picture back? Most of them. There's some kids that are too embarrassed about their bodies at that point, so they don't send a full nude photo, but most of them do send it back. Then they go to videos, and then they go to voicemails. Well, then pretty soon I teach an internet safety class to the parents and teach them to look at their kids' photos and do some internet search or some phone searches. And I get the parent that comes in with a phone like this. Here's my 6th grade boy's phone. He's sending naked pictures of some girl. She's sending it back. Make it stop. So I do an investigation. And through my investigation, we end up arresting a 25-year-old in Iowa, a man. We end up arresting a 38-year-old in Kentucky, another man. So men who want pictures of naked young boys have discovered they can go onto any pornography site and download pictures of an 18-year-old model who looks like she's 15. And here's the picture of this model. Her fake self is at her fake school with her fake friends, fully dressed. Here she is at the park. Here she is at her fake high school. And then here she is in various stages of undress. So these men take over that girl's identity. She has no idea because they're just copying and pasting those pictures. And they use it to lure boys into sending their picture. And they are hugely successful. They are so successful that I've told boys that very story. Hey, look, men are going to try and pretend to be girls, get your naked picture, and then they're going to sextort you with it. And then like a year later, that boy, oh, Shadomas, I did something really dumb. Even though you told me not to, I sent this picture, and now they want me to pay $400. Why? Right? That's how powerful it is. So these people, when they get these pictures, they use it for 3 things. Number 1, they use it for personal pleasure. Number 2, they use it for sextortion. And the sextortion is usually in $400 or $500 increments. And they usually ask kids or adults. Adults fall for this just as much. Kids or adults, pay me $400, pay me $500 in iTunes cards, in Walmart gift certificate cards, in Red Dot cards, whatever it is, but it's untraceable. Once those cards are gone, they're gone. As soon as you pay that $500, they say, hey, thanks for the $500. In 2 weeks, you'll have another payment of $500 until we reach $5,000. As soon as you reach 5,000, we're going on up, and they will milk the person for everything they have. For everything they have, whether that's kid or adult. Now, the third thing, I told you about 2 things that they do. The third thing they do with these child pornography pictures that they have collected, and they collect lots of them, they use them to join online child pornography trading sites. There's a lot of those. Now, those sites require 2 things to join their club. Number 1 is a fee. It's usually between $50 and $500 to join their underground child pornography trading pictures. Number 2, they require you to upload 5 original child pornography images. Because they know once you upload those images, you're a felon. Police are not allowed to upload pornography to anywhere, even computer generated. We're not going to upload. So that's how they filter us out, is by requiring those original child porn images. And now they're free to trade around the world with all the pictures of all the kids that they get. And they get pictures of kids as young as 6 all the time. I've personally probably taken 3 or 4 reports from 6-year-old boys and girls who have sent out naked photos of themselves. They're basically at home all day long, on Roblox, on whatever social media. They get a mentor coach. That mentor coach is somebody online who's coaching that kid how to send their naked pictures. And in return, they get Robux, they get little widgets for games that they want, they get all kinds of things. And what parents don't understand is, to somebody on a kid that's that age, if you tell them you're going to give them something for taking off their shirt, they're like, cool, I took off my shirt for bath time last night for free, now I'm getting something cool out of it at least. Parents have to have these conversations with kids, especially if you're going to give them a smartphone, especially. And I always tell parents, think of it this way. Let's say you're going to give a 10-year-old girl a brand new shiny iPhone. You give her the iPhone, that's the most awesome thing she's ever had. She's talking to her friends, she's sending pictures, she's doing social media. If she gets a penis picture from an adult male who she doesn't know, if she tells parents, what are parents going to go do? They're going to go to freak level 5, take that phone, and she's not going to see that for a long time. What's the chance that she's going to tell her parents that she just got something inappropriate from an adult male? Pretty much zero. Right? Again, conversations you need to have with kids when you give them smartphones, when they have access to smartphones, not just their own, with somebody else. It's kind of crazy. So, in Idaho, I don't know what the Montana laws are. I forgot to ask my guys that I had here this afternoon. In Idaho, where I'm from, if you are under the age of 18 and you have pictures of an underage person, it's a misdemeanor the first time, it's a felony the second time. So I've got 7th and 8th graders who are committing felonies already by collecting pictures of their classmates. If you send your picture, same thing. The first time is a misdemeanor, second time is a felony. If you threaten to send somebody's picture, whether you have it or not, it's a felony right away. Now, we don't have the bandwidth to arrest 90% of the kids who have pictures, so we just give them to parents most of the time, let the parents deal with it, which they've already dealt with it poorly the first time. We don't expect much the second time, but we've got it all poorly. The courts don't have the bandwidth, and we don't have the training programs to rectify that situation, so we don't do a whole lot, but we can. I have arrested an 8th grade boy, put him in handcuffs, taken him to juvenile detention for multiple times collecting pictures of his classmates. That was more of a parent problem, because the parent kept on giving the kid phones, even though she knew he was going to collect pictures. All right, let's go to the next one. What does photo sharing at school look like? So my first dealings with nude photos at school was at the middle school, Lewis and Clark. The principal's daughter, she was a 7th grader, and another straight A student. So 2 straight A students on the playground got in a fight, which was super odd. It's like, you guys are teachers' aides, straight A students, principal's daughter. I called girl B first. Hey, why did you get in a fight? You guys are like the best students around. Oh, she sent a booby picture to my boyfriend. I'm like, stop, she's 13, right? And again, my mind cannot process naked pictures from a kid. So stop, that didn't happen. Yes, it did. Okay, well, I'm calling her in right now, so get rid of this kid, bring in the next kid. Principal's daughter standing right in front of me. Hey, did you send out anything inappropriate to her boyfriend? Yeah, no, that was a bad idea. Well, who else did you send this picture to? This boy, and this boy. So now I call this boy, and this boy. Hey, do you have naked pictures of this girl on your phone? Yeah. Who else do you have? This girl, and this girl. Now I call this girl. Who else did you send it to? This boy, and this boy. Who else do you have? This girl. I probably talked to 30 kids that day, and then I just had to stop. Every kid was involved in the naked picture stuff. Whether they had sent it out or not, or whether they were just sharing, they all had some involvement. And it was ridiculous crazy. And I've had that happen 4 or 5 times where you just start expanding with the naked photos. And I get calls from all around the country. What do I do? It's like, well, just collect phones until they think the FBI is coming in to waterboard kids, and then that'll happen pretty quick. Because every time you call a student now, they think that everybody's going to juvenile detention and the FBI is coming and all kinds of craziness is happening. But it is a huge issue. A huge issue. All right, next. Sextortion. We talked about sextortion, right? Photos for money, photos for other photos for sex, and that happens to middle schoolers where they will be sextortion into having sex with adults because somebody has naked pictures, has basically some inappropriate pictures or material. It happens with adult women that I get adult women who come into my office. Hey, Officer Gomez, and this is a 34-year-old. I was married for 20 years. I just got divorced. On our 10-year anniversary, we went on a cruise and we made an intimate video. Now that we're divorced, my ex-husband is sharing it with all my friends, all my family, all my coworkers. Oh, sorry. Not much you can do. There are crimes and charges you can do, but it doesn't go anywhere. Right? So I highly recommend kids or adults don't get digital pictures or videos in any way, shape, or form. Ever. All right, next. Sex trafficking. A lot of people, when they hear sex trafficking, they think, hey, we're kidnapping somebody from a foreign country, we're keeping them in the bottom of a hotel for sex work. But it happens a lot more commonly than that. Let's take an 8th grader that somebody starts paying for naked photos. All right, if you start paying an 8th grader for naked photos, which people are already starting to do this way more than I would like. But here's an 8th grader who takes one topless picture of herself. She can share that over and over and over and over again, week after week after week after week, that one picture, and she's getting $30 to $80 each time she shares that picture. To the tune of, I get parents that call me and their kids have $1,000 in their Venmo accounts and their PayPal accounts. God, somebody put money into my daughter's account. I'm like, hey, she is selling pictures, I promise. And almost every time she is. Well, now they've made all this easy money. It's going to be super hard for them to go and work at McDonald's. It's going to be super hard for them to go be a waitress or do any kind of work because, hey, I can make $200 by clicking share 3 times, or I can go all week and work at McDonald's for $200. So they start getting groomed into sex trafficking, right? Then pretty soon they can make a video. What I'm starting to see happening, I get parents who call me, Officer Gomez, my 18-year-old daughter is at the Boise airport. She's flying to Florida or she's flying to California to make a pornography film. Those will pay $5,000 to $10,000 the first film. And they usually, what they do is they will get girls on their last leg. They'll pay them a little bit of cash, enough for them to survive, and then pay them in drugs. But what that does, it makes them dependent on the people that flew them to California, flew them to Florida. Now they're in sex trafficking. Right? Runaway kids are very high risk for getting into sex trafficking. Now, my wife and I, we take in super high-risk teens at our house. When we have high-risk teens, they have high-risk friends. When we have the high-risk friends come over, we know they're in sex trafficking because they tell us. We offer them a bedroom. Here's a bedroom in our house. Stay, go to school, take a shower, get some nice clothes. They don't accept our offer. And the reason they don't accept our offer is because they've been used to living with no rules. And there's a lot of kids who don't live with any rules. They couch surf, they do whatever they want. At our house, we have to put rules. We have to put boundaries. Right? That's part of a healthy parent-kid relationship. So, hey, you want me to come live at your house? Do all these rules? It's not worth it. I can go bounce between drug dealer houses, sell my pictures, have sex with a couple of them, and I am scot-free to do whatever I want. I can get a high all day, I can stay up all night, and I don't have to do much. Right? So once a kid gets into it, it's really, really hard for us to get them out. So the trick is stopping them before they get into it. But again, that's super hard. Caring parents, their kids are rarely going to go into it. Parents that care and aren't very good parents, don't know how to parent, that's whose kids are going to go into it like that. Right? I hate to say they don't care, because almost every parent I know cares. They just don't know how to be a parent, and they're not interested in finding out. Right? The ones that go to jail, that are hooked on drugs themselves, that have their kids in and out of boyfriend, job's house, all those kind of things, those are kids that are high risk. All right, next. Applications. So every application requires you to be 13 years old. Okay? I'll bet of my 6th graders, like 90% of them have their own cell phone, smart media devices, with social media. How many 6th graders are 13? Maybe 1 or 2. Not many. So now I have a whole generation of parents who is forsaking a rule that the kids all know. Hey, I can just put in a fake birthday. If as a parent you allow your kids to put in a fake birthday for social media, you are teaching them that in your house the rules don't matter. If you start picking and choosing rules when they get to driving age, hey, well, I'm supposed to wait till I'm 15 and a half to drive, but I'm 14. My parents let me skip the rules for social media, I can skip the rules for this. Drinking, smoking, be a rule follower. Even if you don't agree with the rules, let's be a rule follower. If we don't agree with the rules, let's change the rules, but let's be a rule follower. This is one of the first ones. And there's many reasons for waiting till 13. It should be even beyond that because of the craziness that happens. But 13 minimum. And by letting kids who are younger than 13, it makes it harder for all the parents, other parents who are trying to resist. It's like, Gomez, I have a 4th grade daughter and she is the only one in the school without a phone. I agree. and they all have social media. And the parents know they're putting in fake birthdays. And some of the parents think they're cute by having Snapchat with their kids, having TikTok with their kids. Oh, you know, I'm the hip parent. No, you're not. Right? No, you're not. Get them off social media. Wait as long as you can for this to happen. As long as you possibly can. Next. Snapchat. Kids like Snapchat because it automatically deletes messages. So if mom happens to grab your phone out of your hands and looks at it, they're not going to see anything because as soon as you read the message, it's gone. They don't have to go through an extra step of deleting it. Kids like Snapchat because it has advanced facial features. It maps your eyes, your lips, your nose, your mouth, and when you talk in reindeer, you throw up rainbows, and there's googly eyes and all kinds of things that they like to make videos with. And that's kind of fun and harmless, that part is. But there's other things, the deleting pictures, the mapping, it will show your kid's location within 6 feet of where they are. So any kind of predator can see, hey, this kid is right here because their mapping is on. They can buy drugs, they get highly sexualized. In fact, Snapchat has a direct link to Pornhub, which is the largest pornography site in the world. And you don't have to sign up, you don't have to do anything. You just scroll up some of the advertisements and now you're in Pornhub. Super easy. Kids start getting desensitized all the time as soon as they have Snapchat. If it were up to me, you'd be 18 before you had Snapchat at all. It's that dangerous, that desensitizing, and it puts that many things in your kid's life that they don't need. Snapchat also has a secret vault. Most people don't know this. There is a folder inside Snapchat that you have to put an extra PIN code in. Right? So kids put all their naked pictures or drug pictures inside that secret vault, and most parents don't even know the secret vault is there. After this, I have a Facebook page where I teach people how to get onto the secret vault. Because I'm going through this class kind of fast, if you go to @DeputyGomez on Facebook, you'll see a lot of supplemental articles that I do on kid hacks, parent hacks, what's going on in the world, what's the latest and greatest, what's the language, what's the translator stuff that you need to know for these social media devices. All right, let's go to the next one. TikTok is the next up-and-coming awful brainwashing application. So kids, when they get on TikTok, it's kind of fun. You get to lip sync to songs. You get to duet with other people around the world to songs, to different things. But adult men from all over the world, of which there are millions, come up with challenges for kids to do. And by challenges, they come up with the tattoo song. Right? The tattoo song is, show us your biggest tattoo, show us your smallest tattoo, show us your most regretful tattoo, show us your most colorful tattoo, your most hidden tattoo, your sexiest tattoo. And you point this, that, they lift up shirts, they do all kinds of things to show the tattoo. The other one is plank challenge. So do the plank challenge. So people, I can't remember if I think they're in push-up position, they go down to plank, go up to push-up to a song. Now, that sounds pretty healthy enough. The problem is that they always place their phone right in front of them on the floor, and they're facing it. So you're looking right down the girls' shirts. And this is adult girls that do this is young girls that do this is 7-year-olds that do this. Right? This is a crazy thing that we are sexualizing kids that much. And they know that if they don't wear a bra, they're going to get 100,000 likes. If they wear a sports bra where nobody can see, they're going to get 10 likes. Right? We start determining what kids are worth. Now, I skipped over this earlier, so I need to go back to it because it's something important. Earlier, somebody asked me, hey, 90% of girls send out their naked picture. What do those 10% have that the 90% don't? Right? What do they have? As an engineer, I like to write things down. I like to observe. I like to know. What I found that I believe helps, or is one of the things, I had a couple years ago, a young lady came into my office at the school crying. She'd just gone through boyfriend number 16, who met her, hung out with her for a couple of weeks, and then dumped her. And she was crying. Why do I always pick the same guys that do the same thing? And so I asked her a simple question. What are you worth? And she says, I don't know what you mean. I'm like, okay, I have a dog at home. He can fetch a ball. He can bring a stick. He can sit. How are you better than my dog? I don't know. And she didn't know. So then I started asking a ton of kids, what are you worth? I don't know. I probably asked 100 kids, 10 could tell me what they're worth. So then I asked, what's your family values? I don't know. So then I ask adults, what are your family values? Well, honor and courage. Are those your family values? You're just making it up on the spot. Most of them are just making it up on the spot. Right? The kids that can resist sending pictures out, they know what they're worth. They know what their family values are. They know what their family stands for. And they're solid on it. So that when somebody from outside their family comes in and tries to give them new values, they can say no. When somebody offers them drugs, they can say no. Because they know what their family values are worth. They know that it's super important to their family that they make decisions that represent their family correctly. Right? To them, one of the worst punishments they could ever get is, son, daughter, I'm disappointed in you. Right? To most kids these days, you tell them that and they're like, that's all I'll give. Please, right? I'll be smoking again tomorrow morning. But to the kids who have those family values and have that respect for their family, son, I'm disappointed in you. That is the worst you could ever do. Right? And that's what parents should strive for, to build that respect, to build those family values. And that makes a huge difference. Back to TikTok and family values. With TikTok, the predators will ask for kids for pictures of their feet. Hey, send me pictures of your feet, I'll give you $20. Kids, especially girls, well, here's a picture of my feet. Where's my $20? And the guy says, okay, what's your Venmo? Venmo, I don't have Venmo. Well, what's your PayPal account? I don't have PayPal. What's your Google account? I don't have Google. I basically don't have a digital account. Well, hey, get a digital account of any kind. I'll give you some money. So now the kids go about getting a digital account, whether they get it through their parents or they get it through an 18-year-old, or they make up a completely fake name with fake paperwork and get a digital account. They go through the work of getting a digital account. As soon as they have access to a digital account, the person sends them $20. But that is the trigger. As soon as they send them those $20, they don't care about the feed pictures. They probably deleted that the minute they got it. What they needed is for that young person to start a digital cash account. Once they do that, then the person, hey, if you send me a bra and panty picture, I'll give you $50. And they do. You send me a topless picture, it's $100. And they do. You send me a video, it's $500. And they do. And we're basically grooming kids into this. And it's so prevalent now that adults, if you look on my Facebook page, adults now who are in the sex trade industry now have the songs on TikTok that they're calling themselves accountants. I'm an accountant, right? I sell pictures and I do this. I'm an accountant because nobody asks questions. So now the kids in high school, okay, well, good thing I'm good looking enough to be an accountant. I don't really have to graduate. I don't have to go to college because I'm just going to sell pictures, my body, to make much more money than anybody with any kind of degree is going to get. I'm an accountant. It's crazy, but that is the way they do it. They step them through it. Next. Instagram. There's not much to say about Instagram other than kids usually have 5 Instagram accounts. Right? Grandma and grandpa and mom and dad see 1 Instagram account. They have 4 others. We call them their Finsta accounts and their Sinsta accounts. Finsta accounts is friends and Instagram matched together. So you have one group of friends that we can talk trash about another group of friends. Then you have your Sinsta, which is sins and Instagram account. Kids usually call them their spam accounts. So they have one for grandma, grandpa, dad, and mom, and then they have 4 other ones for showing off their pictures of all kinds of selling stuff. That's crazy, but that's what they have. So if you're a parent doing phone checks, just click at the top. You'll see it drops down to a bunch of other accounts. Easy to find, easy to see. Next, Roblox. Roblox is a heartache for me because my grandkids play Roblox. Roblox has a bunch of little games inside of a big game. Right? When you sign into Roblox, there's 100 little side things you can do. And many of them are very educational. Right? You build houses. You have to save your money for a pool. You have to charge rent to people. You have to do mathematical things. You have to do tasks that are very educational. And I have no problem with that whatsoever. My problem with it is, in Roblox, you're in a little world of your own with a little blocky character. You are meeting all kinds of other blocky characters. Well, unfortunately, predators have infiltrated all those other characters, and so now your kids are talking to adults even though they think they're talking to kids. And there's filters and things, but the predators always get around the filters. They usually start by naming their characters pornography names. So that even if your kid isn't seeing something, they're seeing names of people that are pornographic. They're seeing names on buildings that are pornographic. So we start the desensitization at 6, 7, 8 years old. And the way to understand this, I always tell people, if I'm a deer hunter, I'm not going to go to the mall to hunt deer. I'm going to go up in the mountains where the deer are. If I want pictures of young boys and girls and I want to hunt these kids, I'm going to go to kids' applications. But for some reason, parents in their mind, they see Roblox and they think that there's some kind of internet police that monitors to make sure just kids are going to be on there. And there's no such thing. Right? What parents have done by giving their kids Roblox is they've put their kids into a nice little neat package for predators to hunt them. Right? Predators don't go to adult places looking for kids, they go to kids' places. And predators know Minecraft, Roblox, right? Mario games, those things are all going to be filled with little kids. And that's what they're after. I've arrested people, taken them down to search warrants on their phones and see that they have Roblox accounts. And these are 50, 60-year-old men. It's crazy. Crazy, crazy. Next, other popular applications. Minecraft, Fortnite, WhatsApp and text now are the ones that people use when they don't have cell service. That's what they use to phone call people. Predators a lot of times won't call kids on the cell service because they know the phone company can keep records. So they go to these third-party applications so they can skirt people finding out who they are. Now, my kids at my school know that nobody's anonymous. I can hunt somebody down no matter what application they use, no matter where. If I want to hunt them down, I'm going to hunt them down. Of course, parents always call me, wow, some adult sent my daughter a penis picture. What are you going to do? It's like, I'm going to tell you how to delete it. Okay, now what? We're done. Aren't you going to go find this person? No. They're probably in Australia or some other country. Oh, I see the plane leaves at noon in Australia. No, I'm not going to go after them, right? We don't have the bandwidth to go after every person that sends pictures. Right? So part of this is block, delete, and move on with your life. And it's going to happen. So we have to have those conversations with kids. Right? Hey, Archie Gomez promised me you're going to get these pictures. What are we going to do when that happens? We're going to go to freak level 5. Well, we probably are, but let's calm down really quickly. Next. Oh, one back. Okay. Secret applications. Almost every high school kid has a calculator app on their phone that hides other applications. It hides secret vaults, it hides other applications. This calculator works as a scientific calculator. You can do anything you want. As soon as you do a wiggle and a shake, it brings up a secret gallery or a secret chat or a secret application. Or you can type in, whatever formula you have for doing it. But this is the one they use at school. So when a teacher comes around, they flip it, and now it's a calculator. When a parent comes around, they flip it, now it's a calculator. As soon as the teacher or parent walks away, they put their password, now they're talking. As soon as the parent comes, flip it, we're back to calculator. Lots and lots and lots of kids have it. The other problem with this is if you do a phone search, you look in the gallery, you look in Snapchat, you look in all these other places, you're not going to find anything because it's hidden inside the calculator application. There's a tic-tac-toe program that hides it. These programs were meant for cheating husbands and wives, but the kids have adopted them for themselves very quickly. Next. Payment applications. We already talked about the payment applications and how kids get those. We actually have digital PIMs at the high school. So we have high school kids that turn 18. Well, they can get digital accounts, and they'll tell a girl, hey, you want to sell your pictures? I'll take 10, 15, 20%, and I'll give you cash for the rest of it. Right? So they use an 18-year-old's basically PayPal or Venmo or Google account, and they will be a pimp for the girls, which is a crazy thing, but that is the new age, right? A digital pimp. Next. Parental applications. So Apple has a built-in free parental application. Android, you can download a free parental application. So on Apple, it's already there. And it's a pretty good application. With Android, it's called Family Link. And that's a pretty good application. You can download it. You can monitor what your kids are doing on their phones. You can monitor what time they're supposed to go to bed. You can monitor how much time they spend on their phone. You can monitor what kind of things they can look up. And for free programs, they work pretty good. There's also third-party applications that you pay a small fee for every month. Some of them are $5 a month, some of them are $99 a year. Life360, Barth, Disney Circle, OurPact, Norton, there's a bunch of good ones. The paid ones keep up on top of the latest trends better than the free ones. However, kids are always going to find workarounds, always. And as much as you try and stay on top as a parent, kids are professionals, right? They spend lots of time, lots more than you. But as long as you as a parent to show the kids what's important, you're going to do better. So how do they get around some of these parental applications? So let's take the nighttime. Hey, at 10 o'clock at night, this phone shuts down, it doesn't start till 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, once it be at 9:30, the kid changes the time zone on their phone. Right? So now we change the time zone, they change the time zone, now they can be on their phone all night long. Then in the morning they change it back and now they got all day again. There's applications, you would limit their Instagram to an hour a day or their Facebook to 2 hours a day. Well, once it reaches that time limit, what they do is they delete the program altogether, they re-download it, and now it starts their time limit because it thinks it's a new program. Right? There's many ways. GPS coordinates. Right? Kids can change the GPS coordinates on their phone thanks to Pokemon Go. When we had Pokemon Go, kids wanted to get the Charizard and the special characters, so they would change the GPS on their phone to be in China, to be in Australia, to get the characters that were over there to advance their gameplay. Well, that works for telling mom, I'm going to be at this place. They can actually program their GPS to have an offset. Now when mom looks, well, look, they're at Johnny's house studying just like they said they were. Nope, they're at the bonfire party. Right? Kids are going to get away from all kinds of things. We actually had an emergency where parents, hey, I need to get a hold of my kid. They said they were going to be at this house. I called that house. They're not there. Their GPS shows they're there, but nobody's there. So we go to the house. We found 5 phones in the mailbox. So the kids went to where they said they were going to be. They all put their phones in the mailbox and went out to a park. Luckily, as a school resource officer, I know who hangs out with who and where they're going to be. So it didn't take me long to find them. But that's the kind of things kids will do, and they are very smart at it. They're very slick. You just got to try and keep up wherever you can. Next. Is that it? Okay, so best practices. Communication with your kids is the best. Spending time with your kids is the best. Right? I always recommend families motorbiking, skiing, picture taking, art, something you do as a family where you spend time showing your kids what your values are. Not just telling them, showing them. Right? Mom, Dad, what are you going to do when somebody cuts you off? What are you going to do when somebody says something politically that you don't agree with? What are you going to do in whatever situation it is that's high stress? This is your opportunity to show your kids who you want them to be. But you can't do that unless you spend time with them. And that, for a lot of parents, is put down your own phones. Because I see many parents who spend just as much time on their phones as their kids, if not more. Put down your own phone, spend some time with your kids. That's the best thing you can do for them. Educate yourself. Come to classes like this. I know you don't get a lot of offerings on classes like this, but there's some on the internet. You can follow my page. I'll probably be back sometime because I'm not that far in Boise. Educate yourself. Heed the warnings. 13 before they have social media. 200 friends or less. No cell phones in the bedrooms. Right? That is an awful one to have cell phones in the bedroom for any amount of time. Right? And we always tell kids, hey, look, you either have no bedroom door, or, if you have no bedroom door, you can have your cell phone in the bedroom for a limited time, not for overnight. But there's going to be no closed doors with cell phones behind there. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. Right? Know who everybody is. I have parents who will pick up their kid's phone and they'll click on a friend. Who is this? Well, I met them. No, you're not going to meet somebody. We got to know these people. Right? Talk to your kids. Communication. We have at my house with our high-risk teens, we have tribal council every Friday night. We're going to have a little meeting in the living room, no matter what. And the kids get their say, we get our say, and we talk about good things and bad things, about things we're striving for, about things we're striving for as a family and as individuals. Right? And those things are awesome about parenting. Those things are awesome later on. They will pay you back 10 times over if you do them right. And it's not that hard to spend time with your kids. You just have to put one foot in front of the other and do it. Right? But I know that people get busy and jobs and tiredness and drama, and it's hard to do, but make that time. I promise you, you have your whole life to do other things. And I see the 10% that don't fall into this. They're the ones who are dirt biking, who are jet skiing, who are water skiing, who are horseback riding, who are skateboarding, bicycling, right? It doesn't have to be something expensive. There's thousands of things that you can do. Start people young. All right, so now that I've scared everybody and told you a few things to do, I'm going to open it up for some questions. Right, any kind of questions? You're not going to embarrass me, as you know. I know you guys are worried about embarrassing Officer Gomez, but I will be fine. So we have a microphone. If you don't feel like you want to say, you can just tell one of our two young ladies here with the mics, and they will repeat the questions to me, and I'll repeat it again. And we'll talk about it. We have a shy bunch. Okay, how do I learn these things about kids? I talk to them, just as parents should be doing. I talk to lots of them. And the more trouble they're in, the more they need me as a school resource officer. The more trouble they're in, the more they need a teacher and a parent to be there. All right, we have a question.
Okay. I would like to know why you have your tip is don't block all access to technology.
Okay, so that actually is not mine. That is another group that did that. So here's the reason you don't block it, though. I know, and they have good tips on there. It wouldn't be my number one, but it's definitely be on there. If you block everything, your kid is going to think of it as taboo, and they're going to want to look at it. They're going to want to see it. So you want to talk about these things, give them a roadmap for the responsibilities that we're going to give them, similar to driving. I don't want you to let your kid drive when they're 9 years old by themselves. However, if when they're 13 and you're out on a country road and they're on your lap and they drive a little bit, I'm going to be okay with that. When they're 15 and a half and they can get a permit and they drive with you in the car, I'm going to be okay with that. But if you tell them, you're never going to drive, guess what they're going to do? They're going to want to drive. Right? So let's set up an appropriate roadmap so that they're not yearning for it always and they don't think, hey, I'm being punished. I'm not being punished, I'm being protected. When I hit these certain points, we're going to allow these things. And if we violate those points, we'll come right back to square one and start again. Does that make sense? That was for the number one tip on there that says, don't block all technology. All right, we got it.
Hello.
Hello.
So I'm just wondering, on behalf of education, you've had a lot of experiences in different schools. So in our schools, what would you say or would recommend to deal with things like social media and drugs in like middle schools and high schools? What programs have you felt like have been successful? Because we know schools have responsibilities to help our kids with things like this as well, not just our parents anymore. So what would you say you've seen that have been successes to help kids through things like this?
Excellent question. So, since I've been in multiple schools, the question is, how can we steer kids in different directions? What has been successful? And I have seen some other programs, and we were talking about this earlier. Some of the outside school programs are very successful. The YMCA, after-school sports, horseback riding, you have some, the Scouts are hugely successful. Basically, we're getting out of screen time and we're showing kids values, whatever the program is. Teen centers, some of the schools have teen centers. Some of them have open mic nights at the local restaurants. Anything where we can get community support and community interaction with the kids is awesome. Right? And again, a lot of people kind of picture, hey, well, I'm going to take, the best of the best kids. Those are the ones that need it, right? Those guys are parents. We need to take the worst of the worst kids. Those are the ones that need the community to step in because they don't have the proper parental support and they need the community to fill in that gap that they don't have. I started kind of a group in Meridian, Idaho, and I wanted teens to come on Friday nights till midnight. And they let me go in uniform and go see them. Well, some of the community was worried, how are you going to keep the riffraff out of there? I'm like, no, that's who's invited. That's who I need to be there. That's who needs me the most. That's who needs the community room. In fact, I think I named it. Hey, this is a riffraff shack, right? That's who needs it the most. But community interaction, and if school teachers already give so much, but if they're the ones who can interact the best, SROs, police officers, businesses, all those people. If you get them involved, get the kids to know that you care about them, that is the best. That answers that. Oh, awesome. I love when young people ask questions.
I'm in high school. And stuff.
Yes, you are or you are not.
I'm in high school.
So are you allowed to have cell phones in high school or not? You're allowed.
But my question is, some people know, my science class, this person, but he didn't know. So the question is, should I tell the teacher?
Okay, so the question is that we are in high school, we're in a classroom where cell phones aren't allowed. Now we have some kids that type under their desk or use it in the corner, use it for some things we don't want them to be used for. And this young lady has asked, should we tell the teacher? That's a personal choice, whether you want to tell the teacher. I like teachers to know. Most oftentimes teachers already know who's using phones in class. They just focus on the people that are doing their work. But I would support you either way, right? Some kids, it's like, hey, it's not my business. I'm going to do my work. I'm going to focus on my work. I don't need to worry about somebody else's drawing. And I am fine with that. I would support you. If you wanted to say, hey, teacher, this person is being a distraction to me because they're on their phone and they shouldn't be, I'm okay with that too. I would support you either way, right? And then part of being in high school is learning what kind of person you are.
So I would have a question for the audience. What was the most amazing, that gives a positive trend. What were you most surprised about tonight? Come on.
The what?
Statistics, 80 to 90% of decent injuries
Yeah, 80 to 90% have sent a nude picture. Do you believe it?
So
I
with
absolutely hate to believe it.
those stats, I always get challenged. I don't believe it. That's crazy talk. Right? So especially if a teacher, Gomez, there's no way your numbers are good. I'll go into that teacher's class. I'll say, hey, can I ask your kids a question? Sure. And so I'll tell them, hey, look, Officer Gomez says 90% of you have sent out nude photos by 11th grade. Raise your hand if you disagree with me. That way I'm not singling anybody out. I'm not doing anything other than agree or disagree. And I've asked thousands of kids, right? I mean, I have 2,300 kids in my own school, and I often go to other schools. Raise your hand if you disagree with me. And in the whole time I've asked thousands of kids, I've had about 3 or 4 students ever raise their hand because students know other students are sending naked pictures, right? They call them nudes. It is becoming so mainstream and so regular that a boy will meet a girl at wherever and ask for nudes within 5 minutes of ever meeting her. Hey, send me nudes. It's even becoming a slogan on cars, send nudes. Commercials, send nudes. In sports, send nudes. That's how mainstream it's getting. And that's exactly what they mean. They want girls to send them nude pictures of themselves. And they're not talking about grandma and grandpa sending pictures. They want young people to send pictures. That's how mainstream it is. But that is pretty shocking. And it's hard to comprehend, and it's hard to wrap your mind around. And even me, that I see it all the time, I look at a 7th grade class and I say, hey, 50% of these kids are sent out. I cannot believe it myself, but I absolutely know the numbers are true because I have to take all the reports.
All right, so we'll wrap it up with a couple things. Number 1, if you would please complete code survey. So it's just on the back of your free survey. And we hope you get an idea of what most stood out to you tonight, what was beneficial. The other thing I want to bring up again is the whole part about communities that care. Adam, could you do the other PowerPoint for a second, then I'll tell you when to stop? Okay, go. Go. Next. 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 Okay, now let's look at this. Youth in community that care communities have these types of statistics. So in the weeks and months to come, you're going to hear a lot about the promotion of community that care. We really invite you to be a part of that and to be in on the ground floor, because this is an evidence-based program that has more than 40 years of data. So these are our kids, but there are kids that they took these pictures of or took this data from that are now in their 40s. So, or actually they're older than 40 because they started them when they were in grade school. So the idea that if they're engaged in community that cares, which is very much what Dave is talking about engagement and connection and looking at what norms are and leading to healthy behaviors, 25% less likely to engage in crime, 32% less likely to start drinking alcohol, 33% less likely to start smoking cigarettes or vaping, and 37% less likely to binge drink. Now, those are just 4 of the data points that we picked out. Would you go to the next one, Adam? I think it shows, okay, social development strategy. This is the baseline of what community cares is. And the premise is, down here on the right, what we're trying to do is get kids to bond. And they want to bond with your family, with your friends, with your community. And you'll see the 4 little things there. Somebody's going together somewhere. There's people that are at the school. I think the lower right is a group of people together. So if you can get people to connect, not people, but kids, to connect, then what you do is you reinforce for them these clear standards that are the road to healthy behaviors. And as Dave was saying, if the parent is on the social media 3 at 5, 6, and 7 hours, then what are we teaching our kids? If we are able instead to give our kids opportunities to learn different things, and then we share with them skills, and we pay attention, we give them recognition for what they have accomplished. And it goes in the entire way of these individual characteristics. These are the 10% kids, not the 90%. These are the 10% kids. So, I really do encourage you to be a part of our community that cares and be part of our different sectors. We'll have community work groups that we'll be setting up, and we started last year and COVID kind of put an upside down in it. But it's coming. We need you, and it's the only way we're going to be really successful with our kids and be the 10% instead of the 90%. Dave, you've done a great job. Thank you so much for coming.